Doing good, doing good. Yeah, another good challenge this week. You know, obviously going against this team, Coach Morris and Coach Holbrook over there have a really good scheme with really good players. So just another week for us to be sharp, have a really good week of practice, and go out there and execute.
They're a blitzing team. How do they do it differently than Minnesota?
Yeah. They are a really good blitzing team. I think, just rush and coverage all kind of working together. But again, kind of like Minnesota and, any team that pressures well and gets to the quarterback, they're really smart. They're tied together in the back end and with the pressures. So, again, we, kind of like I just said, we got to do a really good job during the week of preparing for everything and going from there.
What changes are you guys looking at against the blitz?
Yeah, I think just overall communication is the biggest thing. Making sure we're all on the same page, especially in a loud environment, being on the road. So we just got to continue to improve that and go on from there.
You guys didn't throw the ball a ton in the second half because you're playing from ahead. But did you like the adjustments you made to some of what Minnesota was doing and the pressure they were bringing?
Yeah, I thought we made some good adjustments at the half for sure. Just again, like I said, we just gotta continue to improve on things that we can improve. And for me, that's understanding when I'm going to be hot, when to get the ball out of my hands.
Seems kind of crazy that any quarterback manages to hold on to the ball when one of these guys hits them as hard as you guys get hit.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just kind of luck when it falls out, or are there strategies to hold on to it more?
Yeah, I think it's all the work that you put in the off season. Off season including working in Orange County when I'm at home. And then it's when we get here in April, when we get here in training camp, and then throughout the week, like just being really good about, keeping two hands on the ball at all times, whether I'm trying to escape the pocket or I'm in the pocket. There's some things you can't avoid. But again, just being really hard on myself, I got to continue to hold on to the football.
When you look at some of their young guys up front, how much of it is their talent, their skill versus the scheme they've been put in to get some of those sacks?
Yeah, I think it all works together, like I said. But they got really good talent. Just watching it on tape, like the speed and the power that they rush with. Like I said, it's going to be a really big challenge for us. I think step one is communication, like I said, and kind of rolling from there. Just after communicating, all being on the same page, and then being able to use obviously fundamentals and technique to get them blocked up.
When you looked at the film, what did you see of how they defended JSN and what you guys would kind of need to do to counter that in the future?
Yeah, I think, whether it's rolling the safety over the top, just straight up doubling, and some of the certain techniques that they were playing, just kind of understanding when that's happening, having a plan for it, understanding what routes he might be able to get open, on those certain things. But also for me, having a good understanding of when to move on in the progression.
A lot of folks focus on downfield throws and the difficulty of completing those. What are some of the unique challenges of the screen game, timing and getting the pass around all that traffic?
Yeah, I think again it's something that you got to work on. You got to work on the screen game, especially going against different looks on third down. They have different fronts and different pressures. Running screens against man coverage are a lot different than running screens versus zone. So it's just being ready for all those things, and again going through all that throughout the week, and just being ready for all the different looks in the screen game.
How do you feel like the connection with Rashid Shaheed's been coming as you guys had the least amount of time to kind of get on the same page compared to the other guys?
Yeah, it's great. I think just being able to work as consistently as we can throughout the week to get full speed reps, and we're not when we're not able to get all the reps, just being able to talk about the routes. And I think the dialogue and just being able to talk to each other really helps out with kind of my understanding of where he's going to be, and for him to understand kind of what I'm thinking with certain routes.
Going back to how they defended Jax, Mike McDonald mentioned Cody's catch as an example of like, all right, they do this to Jax, somebody does their thing. From your view, what was different about, or what worked well, I guess, on Cody's catch there versus maybe some of the other times that they were giving attention to Jackson? Yeah,
I think, just for me, it's playing fast and understanding kind of what the coverage is and when to move on in the progression. Not only when it's Jax, but, when it's somebody else as well. And understanding when to move on, I guess, in the progression, and that goes for everyone. Like I said, like if we're running a concept versus, we want single high and it's cloud, like just being able to move on and go through my progressions like I would in training camp.
How do you avoid a situation where, you guys are the number 3 scoring team in the NFL. You've been really successful. You had the one game against the Rams where some things went wrong. How do you avoid overcorrecting and kind of losing what was all working up until then?
Yeah, I think, just understanding our identity, what got us to this point, just understanding that and being able to work and continue to grow. It's what I said kind of in the beginning of the year. I feel like I got kind of redundant in these interviews, but just saying we're always, chasing that edge of what gets us to the next step, but also understanding who we are as an offense. But you're always trying to evolve, and the coaches do a really good job of creating schemes that put us in really good positions at the end of the day. So for us, it's just about going out there and executing the play.
Sam, coming out of the Rams game, I know you were talking at the time about how not all sacks can be awful. Sometimes they're the right play.
Mm-hmm.
I know Mike said this weekend that he thought a couple of the ones you made were good decisions. To kind of see that, maybe take that step in that regard where you have a couple go down. And what'd you kind of make of that for you this week?
Yeah.
That aspect.
You're talking about looking at the tape from last week, or going into this one?
Going to this last week and taking a couple more and some of those.
I think sometimes it can be a good thing. It's definitely better than turn the ball over, but I think there are some times as well. I can, even if a guy's covered or doubled, in Jax's case, I can throw it at his feet or find a way to throw it away, because you'd rather throw it away than take a sack. But if there's nowhere to throw it away and I'm in the pocket, sometimes a sack is the best play. So it's just evaluating every situation as its own.
Julian was named the team's Man of the Year nominee. I know he hasn't been able to play a ton this year because of injury, but he's around doing everything. What is his presence being around? What does he mean to the team?
Yeah, Julian's he's an incredible leader. He's someone that everyone can look to, and it always seems like he's doing the right thing. He's always in the right spot, and whether it's on the field or off the field, he's just doing everything that he can to for right now just get healthy and be on the field with his brothers, and he's just a really good leader in all aspects of the game, and as a person off the field.
How have you seen your guys' run game evolve as the season's progressed, and specifically with Ken as he starts to look better and better each week, it feels like?
Yeah, I think just communication. I think continuing to get better, as a group, understanding kind of what we're looking for in the run game, and our offensive line doing a great job, as they have all year, of opening great running lanes. I just feel like our backs are continuing to see the offense the best way possible, and kind of understand the flow of the defensive line, what gaps they want to take away, and when they hit that cut, that they are very confident in it, and as they always have been.
What are kind of the last things that end up coming together when you're working with a new receiver, like choice routes or versus zones and sitting down? What are the things that take the longest to get on the same page with?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the look where you got maybe a guy pressuring off the side of the choice route, and you got a guy a safety maybe coming over the top trying to defend him. It's trying to understand that leverage as a receiver, and as a quarterback, you want to try to stay patient with them, but you also need to be able to throw it in the timing of the play. So there's that can be sometimes the hardest look for those type of routes, but it's being able to talk about it, throughout the week, and getting on the same page so that you're not, second guessing yourself out there on the field on Sunday.
Big picture, you guys are tied with the Rams. 49ers have 9 wins as well. Kind of 5 games left. How do you do you pay a lot of attention to that? What else is kind of going on, or how do you kind of look at that with 5 games?
Yeah, I'm not evaluating it like crazy, but definitely, understand the big picture of the things, and the playoff picture, all those things in the division. I'm always paying attention to that stuff, but at the end of the day, that doesn't necessarily matter with what we want to do today. I'm just going out there trying to have a good practice today, communicate, and kind of go from there and get ready for Sunday.
Sam, 12 games into the season, everybody's stuff is on tape at this point. You kind of do what you do. How much more challenging is this closing stretch of the season when there's not really going to be many surprises out there. Teams kind of know what's giving you problems, and all. How does that change down the stretch of a season?
Yeah, I think, it's kind of like what I said before. It's being able to evolve as an offense, understand where teams are, exploiting us maybe, and being able to adjust off of those looks. And I think it's as simple as that.
You haven't played much before this with Timmy. What's he shown you? What are you surprised by or learned?
What was his full name?
Well, I'm not going to say the whole thing.
That was good though. No, Olu's been awesome, and I was able to get a ton of reps with him in training camp. Him splitting reps with Sundell, so that was good for us to be able to get those reps in training camp together. But Olu's a stud, and he's a veteran, a guy that you can fully trust when he gets in there. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.